Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Sarah. You are adorable, aren't you?
Thank you.
You are. Thank you for being here today.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, and every day.
Yeah.
All right, well, Sarah, we watched a movie last night, and it's not the movie that I would have chosen. I'd never seen this movie before. It's famous, but the title was Oklahoma, and I thought it was a cowboy movie, a Western, with action and adventure, and
There was some action.
but yeah, there was a lot more ballet, I think, than shooting. I mean,
I thought it was cool how they communicated feelings through dreams. And so they'd have a moment where there was a real feeling going on or real thoughts being considered, and they had a dream that would express it.
they really missed a lot of opportunity in that movie. That could have been a good movie, but it's like, I think one person died in the entire movie. That was the bad guy, and that you had to wait like 3 hours before the bad guy died.
That's true. There wasn't much death.
They could have improved on that a lot, but
But he did almost get 2 death scenes because there was a whole song about how his funeral would go before his actual
okay,
death.
tonight, Die Hard. But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, ShootingClasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. And now it's time for our Home Defense Show Quotes of the Week. All right, now I've got a good one. It's from Clint Eastwood. The quote is, "I have a very strict gun control policy." I didn't know Clint Eastwood was into gun control, but apparently he is. "If there's a gun around, I want to be in control of it."
No, I thought that was what was coming.
Yeah, that's really not bad.
Sounds like a good policy, especially for a cowboy type guy.
Well, Clint Eastwood, I mean, how many people does he kill in his movies? Like, 50 million?
Probably more than one.
He's killed a lot of men.
In one movie?
Well, no, not in one movie. I have in my books, though.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, the
But
God
not all
virus.
with a gun, though.
I killed like 90% of the population.
You use special tools for that, though, not
Well,
just a gun.
yeah. I don't do it personally, and it is fiction. But let's see if you can top that.
I wasn't trying to.
Oh, everything is a competition. It is.
I'm sorry.
It's
It makes
go
it
ahead.
so much less fun. All right. I've got a quote by Publius Syrus. It says, "He who lives only for himself is truly dead to others."
He who lives only for himself is truly dead to others. I suppose that's true. I mean, you're describing a narcissist, right? I mean, that's like half the population
Well,
of the United States now.
I couldn't say how many, but
That's a pretty good quote. I mean, it's not as good as Clint Eastwood, but
wasn't
who is this guy? Publius, what's his name?
Publius Syrus. He
I mean, how many movies has he been in?
no, he was brought to Rome as a slave, but he was
What, like last year or
in
when?
Rome. No, in 85 to 43 BC is when he lived.
Oh,
so.
you had to really dig back into the archives to find that one.
Well, he was recommended to me, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that helped.
All right. So the moral of the story is, don't be selfish.
Well, and he was such a great slave. His master granted him manumission. I think that's freedom of some sort.
He was
So
a great slave.
He was so good
I
at
don't
it
think
that his
I'd make a
master
very
granted him
good
that.
slave. I
Well,
got this attitude.
That would probably modify.
Yeah. Oh, they would probably beat me to death before I
I hope
became a
not.
good slave.
I don't think so. You like to help
well.
people too. It's okay.
And now it's time for our home defense show, Hero of the Week. All right, Sarah, who is our hero this week?
4-year-old girl heroically saves her mother's life by calling 911 after she collapsed. A 4-year-old girl is being called a hero for saving her mother's life after she calmly called 911 and led first responders to her home. Isla Glasser was with her younger siblings on December 6th in their Somerset, New Jersey home when their mom, Hallie Glasser, suddenly collapsed, NBC4 New York reported. The child attempted to wake her unresponsive mother, but when she was unsuccessful in her efforts, Isla knew she had to call for help. In an incredible 911 call, which was released by police and obtained by the local outlet, Isla calmly reported what had happened to the dispatcher. "My mommy fell down and she can't talk," she said, adding that her mom was not sleeping after the dispatcher asked. The dispatcher went on to ask Isla a series of questions about the incident, including if her mom's eyes were open, what room in the house they were in, where her dad was, and if her mom had any boo-boos. Isla answered them all and even explained that her mother had been sick and was experiencing a fever before she collapsed. When asked if anyone else was home, the young girl revealed that she was with her 2-year-old sister and her 1-year-old twin brothers. "Okay, I'll let you know when they're there. Stay on the line with me until then," the dispatcher said. Shortly after, the Franklin Township Police Department finally arrived at the residence, where they discovered that the door was locked, but they were able to talk Isla into opening it. Amazingly, Isla was able to push a chair to the door on her own and stand on top of it to let them in, all while hushing the family's dog, who was loudly barking at the guests outside. Impressively, Isla also managed to feed her younger siblings breakfast as first responders tended to her mother and sweetly reassured them that everything would be okay. Isla's mother was transported to a hospital where she was treated for 4 days, according to NBC4 New York. Franklin police did not disclose to the outlet what caused the mother of 4 to collapse, but confirmed that she was now at home, recovering. On Wednesday, the police department honored Isla in front of a large group of reporters for her swift, life-saving actions that they said saved the life of her mother. "Today, we got to commemorate Isla for the great job she did calling 911 to get her mom help," the department wrote on Facebook after the celebratory event. "It was amazing to celebrate this amazing young lady for her brave and heroic efforts." The department presented Isla with a number of small gifts, including a pen, a limited edition challenge coin, and a frisbee, but was also made an honorary junior police officer and given an official hat, arm patch, and badge. "I'm really grateful that she wasn't nervous because she made the call," Haley told the reporters on Wednesday. "That truly saved my life."
Now, what do you think about that one?
Wow, what a good little girl. That's so amazing.
Yes, she did a really good job.
Yeah.
4 years old, saved her mother's life.
Yeah.
Wow.
That she knew to call, she knew to take care of her little siblings. She was a well-trained little
Yeah,
4-year-old.
she did a great job. Well,
4 years old going on 25. That was amazing.
you know, I know some teenagers that couldn't handle it that well.
Hard to say what.
I mean, not our
unless you're
teenagers.
given the
but-
opportunity, you don't know what you can do. But
Oh,
that was
yeah.
amazing. She did
Yeah,
so
that
good.
was a good story.
Yeah.
And there are millions of good stories out there like that. And I think we need to balance all the negative stuff that we get with some good heroic stuff every single week. So we'll keep doing that, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Sarah. So what's coming up after the break?
Coming up next, we'll speak with best-selling pastor, author, and artist Doug Giles, all about masculinity in art and literature. Then we'll discuss the date from hell in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with firearms instructor Ryan Coe from North Carolina.
Well, you guys are going to love Doug Giles. He's also an artist and a author. The Biblical Warrior Collection. It's a collection of all his art in a hardback book. You guys are just going to absolutely love that. He is so masculine. And I know how much you love masculinity. I mean, you must love masculinity. You married me.
That's right. Absolutely.
Mr. Masculinity.
You are on to me.
Okay. All right, folks. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Centershot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Centershot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
He's old, he's cranky, his back hurts, and he can't remember where he put his car keys. But his mother still loves him. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was a beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. Okay, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Centershot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. Okay, and now, what we've all been waiting for, I'd like to welcome Doug Giles back to the show. He's a best-selling author, pastor, and a talented artist. Doug, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Skip, how you doing, big dog?
I am doing fantastic. Up here in Michigan, you're down there in Texas. That's like the yin and yang of weather in America. You know, on each man's life, a little rain must fall. So how are things in Texas? Are you holding things, red and conservative down there?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of the valley, deep South Texas, flipped red, and we're talking some of those counties haven't voted for a Republican in 130 years. It's pretty amazing. The attitude is definitely chipper. I would say elation. People are still high off what happened. Just really can't believe it. Slap your mama. Did that really just occur? There's a lot of great anticipation, man, for what is going to go down. I tell you what, Trump's trickle down testicular fortitude has hit the United States of America and has turned it away from morphing into the United States of liberal acrimony. I think wokeism is dead. I think the fake news is dead. I think they jumped the shark on this one, foisting Kamala and Tim Walz, of all people, upon the American collective. And Skip, yesterday when I was preaching at our church, I was talking about boldness and confidence and how God gives that to the believer to where we're not mild and timid, but bold and confident. And I brought up how Trump displayed his confidence during the campaign, predominantly by doing the Trump dance. And the whole church got up and we all did the Trump dance for about 2 or 3 minutes.
That's awesome. You know, I'm not sure that happened anywhere else in the other churches in America.
I don't think it did, man, but it happened at our church.
Well, Doug, I was very, very happy with the election because for the last, 4, 5 years, I've been living behind enemy lines, in the Iron Curtain of Michigan. So I was very happy to see that Michigan went for Trump. I would have been ashamed of my home state if it hadn't gone for Trump. So I was really happy about that. But the transition into your art and your writing, because I mean you're an Amazon best-selling author for years now. Your books and your art have resonated with Americans all across the country, especially with men, because you write and you paint about strong men, about what it means to be a real traditional man. So talk about your art and your books and what you're trying to get across.
My artistic motivation for this book, which is titled Giles, that's GILES Vol.1, the Biblical Warrior Collection. Pretty simple, Skip. I just wanted to go on record painting predominantly the epic male heroes of the scripture as men instead of rouge, little lipstick dandies walking around in white peignoirs, spewing out positive niceties to irresponsible slackers. That's pretty much my main motivation, because a lot of people, a lot of dudes, I know I did, Skip, I don't know when you came to Christ, but man, I had a big problem with Christians. I was very, very sinful, very knowledgeable of my damnation that was coming because of all the garbage that I did. And, I was talking a lot to God and asking for deliverance and forgiveness. And the big sticking point with me is that I didn't want to turn into what I saw a Christian male to be. And most of the Christian males that I bumped into, man, in high school and early parts of university, they were wussies. I mean,
Yeah.
they were overly nice. There wasn't anything epic about them. And I was like, God, forgive me of my sins, but please don't make me a Christian.
Oh, yeah. This is Skip Coriel on Home Defense Show. We're speaking with best-selling author and artist Doug Giles. Yeah, it just seems like the last 20 years, it's like escalated in the last 20 years. Men aren't men anymore. I mean, spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. I was raised that men are strong. It's like John Wayne kind of a man.
Yeah.
And I never felt good about where America was heading. I felt like I was being oppressed just for being who I am and who God meant me to be, and that's a strong American male. Boy, I'm glad that so many people seem to be pushing back against that now, and men are rediscovering what masculinity really is.
Yeah, I'm glad also, man, because there was and it's been going on, I would say, for 4 decades, where there's a systematic attack against the male collective, trying to make us controllable, Skip, and make us, just modulated little tinker pots that, and I think it's politically and spiritually strategic. If you get a weak guy who's not a provider, protector, hunter, and hero, then you can control that douchebag. And same thing with the powers of darkness. If you're not going to be a spiritual warrior, if you're not going to take responsibility, lead courageously, reject passivity, expect rewards, then you're going to be a doormat for the powers of darkness. You're going to be easy pickings. You're not even going to be a threat. And so, from an artistic standpoint, you've heard the old refrain, life imitates art. And I come back with, if life does imitate art, then you better make certain you don't have lame ass art on your wall. So, like with the biblical stories, if you look from the Renaissance forward to the 21st century, most of the depictions of Jesus and the apostles and the prophets paint them as bearded women. And that's always pissed me off, man. And
Yeah.
I've always recognized it's like, these guys are rough cussing fishermen. I've been a fisherman and a hunter all my life. I've never seen a captain, never seen a first mate, never seen an outfitter from Alaska to Africa and everywhere in between that ever looked like these shallow-chested, no-chin, skinny-armed, doe-eyed weirdos that artists, including Leonardo da Vinci and a lot of other Italian masters, have painted. It looks like a gay pope hired a gay artist to paint gay models and to put that quote unquote biblical artwork into the cathedrals. And that's why men said, you know what? Adios, muchacho. I don't want to be effeminate. I think, Skip, men more than anything want to be masculine. And the church has become effeminized. And that's why I wanted to, lower my paintbrush and stick it furtively right into the sternum of that motif by painting the biblical men as they were: epic, adventurous, stalwart, ballsy, intelligent, fearless, and a lot of these guys, they were coming from some sketchy past, but the power of God hit them, Holy Spirit filled them, and they ended up doing marvelous, epic works of faith that every young boy should behold, every female should cheerlead, because you extricate masculinity from the church, from the family, and from the state, then you're this thing called screwed, glued, and tattooed.
Doug, we're out of time for this segment, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and take a break. So while we're away, I want you to go ahead and log into Amazon.com and do a search on Doug Giles and look at the the awesome titles he's got out there. He's got like 20 titles. So go ahead and check those out. God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
The mere sound of his voice makes women swoon and men storm the gates of hell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And now let's continue our conversation with best-selling author and artist Doug Giles. Doug, one of the things that I wanted you to talk about was men and women. It just seems like everything's all screwed up. Women are supposed to have a job. You don't have a career. If you just decide to stay home and take care of your kids, you're a worthless eater. Talk about the relationship between men and women from a biblical standpoint.
Oh, you're trying to get me murdered, aren't you?
Controversy sells books, Doug.
Here's me in a nutshell with men and women, husbands and wives. I'm a big believer, Skip, of alpha males, and I'm a big believer in alpha females. I've got 2 daughters. They're in their early 30s now, but we raised them to be frickin' Xena warrior princesses. My wife and I, we lived in Miami, and we didn't want them to become part of the local team fart cloud. So we made certain, that they had a stranglehold on Christ and the gospel. And they also knew how to whoop major ass by being enrolled in the Gracie Valenti Jiu-Jitsu Academy, world-class academy down there in South Florida. And so 17 years later, they got their black belts. And for those who think I'm a misogynist, you're nuts. You need to meet my wife. You need to meet my 2 daughters. You need to meet my granddaughter, because they are sharp, solid, and smart leaders in their own right. So that being said, yeah, I'm not into Skip, and you and I hail from, we're pretty much the same age. I think I'm a little younger. We hail from the time period where the man was the provider, protector, and hunter and hero. And because I'm a Christian, put that all under God's governance. Today, not so much. And when I look at women, they're like, we want men to be more sensitive. That's bull crap. When the zombie apocalypse goes down, you want a guy who can hunt. You want a guy who can pour lead down range. You want a guy who's creative, powerful, heroic. All these other soft little dudes that are devoid of those 4 characteristics that traditional masculinity applauds. They might be fun to go shopping with, but procreation, creating an epic, butt-kicking, Satan-scarring life with your family, and to create an incredible brood that's going to have a multi-generational blessing upon them that'll affect people for hundreds of thousands of years in a positive, godly way. Oh, you're going to need some kind of traditional guy, Skip, somebody who loves God, somebody who loves the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. I had this girl, beautiful Latin girl, come up to my wife and I, and she's like, there's no guys. She said, the only guys, she's like 21. She goes, the only guys that are attracted to are married or they're in their early 40s. She said, the young 20-somethings, I don't even get them. There's zero appeal whatsoever. They want to go Dutch on dates. They don't open the door. They keep their face buried in their phone. And she's a knockout. And I was like, God, I feel sorry for you. Here's what I would do. Here's my advice. Look in serious churches where there's hunters, farmers, and ranchers, and find you a cowboy.
That's good advice. This is Skip Coriel on Home Defense Show. We're speaking with best-selling author and artist Doug Giles. No matter what happens, women and men need to band together. My wife and I, we got a great relationship. We laugh together. We play together. We work hard. My wife is a strong woman. She may not see herself that way, but she is. And she makes me want to become a better, stronger, tougher man. And that's just something that a good woman will do for you. And
Something about Sarah that we've done several speaking engagements, and I've been up there in Michigan with you and her. Because the cartoon, according to The View, is that women that are homemakers, focused upon raising the next generation of demon thrashers, that they're these oppressed women and stuff. Bro, she's always been joyful, smiley, excited. She doesn't look like, some browbeaten schoolmarm at all. She's great.
Well, yeah, she is. And she's an electrical engineer. And she was like on the top of the heap. I mean, by the world standards, she had made it. She had arrived. Well, she came to me one day and said, Skip, we've got kids at home. I don't like working away from my kids anymore. I want to stay home. I want to raise my kids. I want to homeschool them. And that just goes against the grain of
Yeah.
what feminism and society tells people
Yeah,
women are supposed to want.
yeah, and that's why I think there's a huge pushback against that. People are seeing, that these liberal policies, they're just vapid, the wokeism, you've got to obey us or we're going to cancel you. And I think women who want to embrace their incredible femininity and be the mother and be the home queen of the castle, I think they're perfecting the middle finger against those fourth generation feminists. And God bless them. Like in my book, the Giles Vol.1, a compendium of 70 plus paintings and 234 glorious glossy pages, I got several of the biblical badass women depicted. So it's not just a book full of a bunch of epic dudes like Elijah and Moses and David. My David stuff's incredible. The paintings, I'm looking at Deborah right now. Here she is, a 20-year-old prophetess. And hey, parents, if you've got a teenage girl in your house, you need to get them a print or the original of Deborah and or Yael or Esther or Zipporah, my other epic chicks, because the little Christian girls of the Bible, they weren't these little pearl clutching school moms who were scared of the devil. They were ass kickers extraordinaire, just like the dudes.
Not Taylor Swift. Don't get her a Taylor Swift poster then.
People say, "Oh, Doug, your art, man, it's tough. There's blood in it." It's like, well, that's the Bible. And if the Bible was going to be a Netflix special, it'd be rated R or NC-17 because there's plenty of blood and guts and sex and all kinds of tawdry things in it. Here's my thing: is that it's inevitable that in your listeners that has kids or grandkids, that those kids and grandkids are going to run into monsters. It's just going to happen. Real life is filled with spiritual forces of wickedness, period. And so what they've got to have, and from an artistic standpoint, very simple, is an image of somebody who's undergunned, outsmarted, underaged, coming up against a Goliath or whomever, a Sisera, as with Deborah. And the person of faith kicks their backside. That painting I did of David, where he's stem winding that rock, he's got the rock, down in one hand, and he's got the sling in the other, and he's taking the slack out of that bad boy, and he's about to put that rock right into Goliath's noggin and let the air out of that monster and then cut his head off. That painting has gone into a lot of young people's homes like no other. I get photographs of the painting mounted on the wall. And I think it's, the same thing with the girls. Get the painting of Yael. You got this beautiful little gypsy girl, and she's holding a hammer and a tent peg, because that's what she did to Sisera. She nailed his head to the ground. I think from just an imago standpoint, that kind of imagery to the young male and female, it's like, you're not Satan going to mess with me.
Doug, we're out of time, but I want people to know where to get your books and your artwork. So quickly tell people where they can go to get this in their hands.
Yeah, so DougGiles.art is where my prints are, and some original paintings I have left. And go to Amazon, click your mouse, melt your plastic, get Giles Vol.1, the Biblical Warrior Collection.
All right, that's awesome. And we're going to have you on again in a few weeks because you got another book on Trump art coming out, don't you?
Yeah, I laughed so hard putting that thing together with you. Skip, that milk came out of my nostrils, and I haven't had milk for 36 years.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Doug, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
You bet. Thank you, bro.
All right, folks, now it's time to strengthen that upper body. So drop down and give me 50 push-ups plus 1 for your mother, because we all know that a healthy, fit person fights better and is harder to kill. God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
He's no Einstein, but he can read and write and feed himself just like a big boy. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was a beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. And I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with firearms instructor Ryan Coe from the great state of North Carolina. Ryan, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, Skip, good to be back.
Yeah, well, we've got a kind of a funny twist in today's story, but I'll go ahead and I'll read it to you, and then you and I can unpack it and see what kind of sense we can make, okay?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Texas woman fatally shoots alleged kidnapper, sheriff's office says. A Texas woman told deputies she fatally shot her alleged kidnapper, according to police. The Gillespie County Sheriff's Office said it responded to a 911 call Friday afternoon from the woman who said she had been drugged and kidnapped and had shot someone. She was identified as a 45-year-old woman from Montgomery, Texas. Her whereabouts were briefly unknown until it was determined to be near a winery, or east of U.S. Highway 290. The woman was able to describe a vehicle in which she was associated and the weapon that she used. A deputy who arrived on the scene just miles northeast of Austin found the vehicle in the outside lane of westbound traffic. A man in the front seat area was confirmed dead by emergency services personnel. The man was identified as a 49-year-old who lived in the Houston area. The two had recently met and were familiar with one another and were on a planned weekend trip together when this occurred. The woman who was nearby the scene was taken to a local hospital. The incident is under investigation. All right, that's sketchy, but boy, what do you think of that?
Man, so there was red flags all over this from the beginning, in my opinion. First and foremost, I want to interject for a second and just say, around here, rural North Carolina, everyone has this idea of 911 calls, where they immediately triangulate your area. And in some local jurisdictions close to here, like a local large city close to here, they do have real time 911 tracking, which updates every 12 seconds. So you can even track a moving vehicle. However, in most of the rural counties around us, it puts you in a decently close radius, usually within about 250 meters, and it takes time. And so that was interesting. I noticed that right at the beginning. I'm not familiar with their area in Texas, but I thought it was interesting that it says, she called in on the side of the road, dispatch got close, and then ended up finding that vehicle. So just wanted to interject that there. But yeah, so some red flags right at the beginning. The fact that they were so familiar with each other was a planned getaway. Now, not to say that can't turn into a kidnapping, just because kidnapping could be anything, forced against your will. And she didn't know him that well. And so it could have been, she said, I'm done with this date, done with this weekend. And he, detained her. And so that would be kidnapping. But when she called the police and she said, I shot someone, and someone was used in quotations every time, that made me question right out of the beginning. Just because usually if you're familiar with a person, you know them on the first name basis, it would be, hey, I just shot, Frank or whatever, because he and I did this. And so she was very, very vague from the beginning. And then she also left the vehicle. It does say she was found close by. And so she left that scene and did know the handgun, by name. She quoted, I had a Glock 43. And so it was very interesting, the parts that she's vague on and the parts that she's specific on. And my background's in anti-human trafficking, and so things like that. And so we usually don't see it go where the person stays armed in the front seat. And it was her handgun, which makes me question that too. So there was just a lot. We usually don't see them not searched. We usually don't see them in possession of their, purse or articles if they are in some type of kidnapping situation. So it was very, very interesting from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. This is Skip Coriel, and you're listening to the Self-Defense Report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com, with firearms instructor Ryan Coe from the great state of North Carolina. Yeah, and then you got the second article that I sent you, and that kind of turned everything on its head. Go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about what happened 7 months later.
Yeah, so that second article, 7 months later, law enforcement investigated, and she ended up being charged with murder. And the article did not specify first degree or second degree, but I would be curious to see what the district attorney is planning on charging her with.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really interesting, because when I first read that article, I didn't get all the red flags that you did, because I don't do it professionally. But my first thought was, oh, okay, it's his word against hers, and he's not talking. And so basically, whatever she says, unless there's evidence to the contrary, hey, he tried to kidnap me. That's what happened. I had to shoot him. And I'm just thinking, because in the second article, it talked about how they released her. They interviewed her, they released her, but then they assigned two officers to follow up the case and investigate it. And it seems to me they wouldn't have done that if it was all that cut and dried.
Yeah, very suspicious. You have your purse the whole time you're being kidnapped and drugged, and do you come to and then shoot him? But then if you knew what kind of gun you had but didn't know his name, but then come to find out it was a planned getaway and they were familiar. If I was a responding officer, I don't believe she would have been released on scene. But yeah, very interesting. I am glad that they assigned a follow-up investigation, and I would be curious, with a murder charge, they have to have enough to make that stick. So I would be curious to know, did she end up confessing to someone? Was there text messages or something between? There has to be something more concrete, because just like you said, one side's not talking. So if they feel like they have enough to pursue a murder charge, yeah, that's interesting. There has to be something there that article is not released.
Yeah. And so, well, and that's not that unusual when,
Right.
in a case like this, but what would you say to men or women? I mean, about going on a weekend getaway with someone that you just recently met?
Yeah, that's a no-go for me. I deal a lot with things, and in the last few months we've trained human trafficking victims who have come to us after actually very similar things have happened. Very, very sad, very heartbreaking, very traumatic for them. Or they're raped on a weekend getaway, but they meet these people online, or usually is how that goes, and then they just take off by themselves. And the problem is, there's no accountability most of the time. You can give a fictitious name, or friends anymore, don't check up on friends. And so, man, sharing locations is common, but it's usually not enough, because you don't know what you're doing at that location. And so I would steer clear from the usual dynamics of that kind of planned getaway.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Well, Ryan, we're out of time. That was a good analysis. I appreciate it. Tell us where people can find out more about you and your training.
Yeah, so I work for Apex Defense Group. We're out of North Carolina, so you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or apexdefensegroup.com.
All right, awesome. Ryan, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today. It was great.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, folks, this is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show, and that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget our sponsors: Centershot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. I've written 20 plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Church and State. The first person to email me at skip@homedefenseshow.com will get a free signed copy of the book. Don't forget to include your shipping address. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!